As the federal government is sitting back and not doing nearly enough to fight this pandemic and to fight this depression, thankfully, at the state and local level, you do have some actions being taken. So UBI is finally getting its moment in the spotlight. The mayors of Los Angeles, Oakland, California, Atlanta, Georgia, Tacoma, Washington, Newark, New Jersey, St. Paul, Minnesota, Jackson, Mississippi, Compton, California, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Stockton, California have joined Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, a coalition advocating for UBI policies, or the idea of giving out recurring cash payments to all individuals without any strings attached. Mayors for a Guaranteed Income was founded by Michael Tubbs, the 29-year-old mayor of Stockton, who launched one of the first guaranteed income pilots in the U.S. last year, along with the Economic Security Project, a nonprofit supporting the idea of creating an income floor for all Americans. Though the coalition will advocate collectively for a guaranteed income and share information, each city will launch their own pilot with separate funding streams, either by creating a working group to find room in the city budget or by forming public-private partnerships, Tubbs told Forbes. So, listen to this. Mayor Tubbs announced Stockton's UBI program in 2017. Now, this program, since he's doing it, at the local level, it's harder to do something like this at the local level. But what he did is he found a way to give $500 monthly to the 125 residents. And it went for 18 months, and it was just renewed through January 2021. And most recipients spent their money on groceries and utility bills, and it was a lifeline for people waiting for coronavirus unemployment assistance. We know how disastrous the unemployment system has been during this crisis. And one recipient took unpaid time off from an hourly position to interview for another job with more benefits, something that he wouldn't have been able to do without the lifeline of the UBI. Now, by the way, Thomas Paine was for a UBI. Martin Luther King Jr. was for a UBI. And then more recently, we have researchers in Finland, Kenya, Canada, and the Netherlands have begun conducting their own UBI pilot programs. And Alaska already has it. If I'm not mistaken, in Alaska, it's tied to the oil wealth, I believe. But basically, the argument is, hey, this land is the land of Alaskans, and we're not just going to give it away to private oil companies so that they can reap the rewards. You need to basically pay us for taking our oil from our land. And so everybody who's a citizen of Alaska gets a UBI check. Now, I don't know how much it is, to be fair, but they have it. And suffice to say, you don't have a situation where, because this is an argument that some people make, they go, oh, well, then people are not going to want to work. They're not going to want to be productive. That's just not true. That's just not true. If you give people what is effectively an allowance, what's effectively a floor, they use it for those floor things, namely groceries and utility bills. So, and then also another thing that doesn't happen is it doesn't immediately lead to the system being gamed and all the landlords jacking up the rent $500 because the UBI thing is $500. In the places that they've tried UBI, that hasn't happened. And the money has definitely come in handy. So I think the arguments against UBI are honestly kind of flimsy. It works. It's like Social Security for all. That's what I like to call it, Social Security for all. And so it's finally getting its moment in the spotlight here, and I'm happy. And so you have mayors of a bunch of these, cities and towns who are saying, we're going to do a UBI program. And one of the reasons they're doing it is because with COVID-19, it's such a giant crisis and so many people lost their jobs, and the federal government isn't doing nearly enough. So they feel like they're in a position where they have to do something, and this is the quickest, most direct way to give people support, to give people a lifeline. This is the easiest way to fix the problem. Just direct cash right into their pocket. So I love it. And of course, credit to Andrew Yang for kind of putting this front and center and mainstreaming UBI. I think it's fair to say, hey, I don't agree with the exact way he constructs his or whatever. There are reasonable criticisms of it. But overall, the fact that he put UBI on the map and made it something that's, now seemingly conventional and mainstream, I think that's wonderful. And now COVID-19 is making it so way more people, the polls for UBI now are off the charts. It's majority people support it. So I think it's great, and I want to see more of it, maybe some state experiments where individual states do a UBI. And honestly, ideally, you'd want the federal government to do it, but they're not representing us. And really, they're just doing full corporate socialism while letting the people rot. And that's what's happening right in front of our eyes.